I'm looking at this thinking, what's wrong? It's on right. Nope, the frame's upside down. Or the skins are right side up. And something I felt comfortable winging was just putting these snaps on without checking the skins. And having gotten 3-4 snaps down now, I just figured I'd come and check my results. Yeah, so 2 on this side and 2 on this side. So on this first one that I did, I pretty much guessed dead center. This one I was off center by about 1/4 inch to the right. And then over on this side, so this one will go in dead center because I've already marked the point. This one's about 1/4 inch off, and then this one here is just about 1/4 inch off. So there's 2 installed, 1 not, and here are 2 installed and up to 2 not. Because this top is so weak, what I may try doing, and I've already cut these for the purpose, is doing a double snap right here. I put these on the drill press together, like so, marked them up so I'd know which was which. The screw holes have been beveled, and these are ready to go. What I'll be doing is, if I haven't gotten any of this other stuff on camera, then I suppose I should at some point sooner or later. I don't know that I could move this snap over 1/4 inch. The wood would certainly be solid, but pulling out the T-nut that's holding this in there, let's see if we can actually shoot it. It may not be tough. I'll give it a consideration because that is far enough off to bother me, whereas this one isn't quite so bad. And I don't expect that should have any real difference on the skin because you're still going to screw that wherever. And to figure out where the screw holes are going into this aluminum, that's got to be strapped down freaking tight. Because if it goes on loose and I just kind of guess the edges for those, then it'll buckle all sorts of ways. This took longer to take than I thought, but went together easier than I figured it would. Or just about as easy, perhaps. There's a little, each one of these snaps is basically its own little independent situation with a little quirk or two for each one. This one is just inside the wood. That'll be okay. This one is just inside, and then this one, the top had broken off earlier, so this is actually a new edge for it. And in doing all this, I keep snapping this line right there, and I have to fill this area with putty, JB weld, or some other situation. Then over on this side, same deal for up top. And then this one is very over the edge, so I'm actually going to sand this down until I hit that tape. And then this one is pretty much spot on. One of the things I did note is that looking at this, I thought that's funny that that's cracked. It's not so funny after all. All of this wood is slotted into itself, so the slot is on the far side, and this was the main support here. So by cutting the trenches for these snaps, I actually undid some of the structure. So what I'm going to have to do is brace this, and probably brace the whole corner. And check all my connections. In fact, I'll probably preemptively brace all the corners here, and over on this side it's going to be a similar situation. They may not be broken now. That one's pretty close. But even so, don't want them breaking in the future, much less while it's rolling around and hits a sidewalk crack or something like that. So some metal bracing is due, and what else? The only way to get them apart now is, since they're so slippery, you can't really pull them. And if you try to grab them this way, they're just going to slide, so you actually have to grab them from the top and bottom. And really give it a good yank, or more. There we go. Yeah, so now you can see how weak that really is, completely broken through. And I've pretty much got these seams really freaking tight. If I had both hands to pull on these, they'd pretty much match up perfectly like that one does there. Same for this side. Just about a perfect matchup. Squeeze just a little, perfect matchup. This one's so tight that I actually have to put some of the stress back over this way to compensate for that. So it's nice to have these skins back on. And next up, I'll be going and putting little dots on the outside of the skin here for where the screws are going to go through to the snaps. And I'm probably not going to do the drilling for the snaps today, but I'll at least be ready for when I do. And so I'm doing a little more work than I had thought I was going to, and I'm kind of happy about doing that, though I did slice myself real good in the fingertip there with a drill bit. At this moment, this section of skin is snapped on both pieces. I've drilled 2 holes for everything. One of the downsides to putting the snap on the bottom side of this ledge is that you lose half of the width right there, so you can't put the snap before that first inch or so on each one of them. So we'll see how well those do. I had thought that it wouldn't be too big a deal if the skins were, or if the screws were very far away from the edge of the snap. However, depending on how loose this kind of thing is, we'll see. That will rattle over time. There may be some easy fix for that. I imagine there will be. This is just the beginning of a very long journey. So these are the first 4 tapers that I did on the metal. This was the first one. That's a second. That is just about too large. That is almost a complete breakthrough, and it works though. What I'd learned immediately was that when you drill this hole, it has to be straight through to the center of the circle. In this case, it was off that way, angled, so now to get that flush and flat, that's barely going into half the other side there. This was the best one that I got initially for a taper, and then this one and this one I've taken a little more work, and they got a little more work ahead of them too. These 4 tapers I just did a moment ago, and this is a test to see how much further I gotta go, because you don't want to overdo these, because then you lose your screw hole entirely. So that one's got a few more twists, that one's about twice as much, and I'm about to screw into those, and these haven't been tapered yet on this side. It is a fair amount of work. If I had a drill bit, that would definitely be a little easier. I'm not really making any grooves right here. So on camera here, I can't really put any strength behind it to make this actually do any cutting, but I'd have one hand holding the frame and this one full on tight in there, getting as much of a cut as I can. So I'm going to unscrew these guys, taper a little more, and move on up. This one's tapered down perfectly. I just unscrewed this guy to go and put him up here. Fortunately, the weight of the frame is enough to counteract the strength that I need to use to push this in at a reasonable rate. Don't expect perfect fits with those. But down here, this next time I put the screw in, but down here, after these turns, I should have a proper amount of space going on. Unfortunately, there's no way to count the amount of turns needed to get the correct depth, simply because there's so many half and third turns and slips and so on. Just about perfect. That does leave a slight bit of a bulge here, but that should be hidden by the arm pretty well. So, I'm going to start working on these guys.